Hello, my name is Joshua Cahill, age 8, and today I am interviewing a World War hero. What is your name and how old are you?
My name is John Gordon, and I was born on the 13th of July 1923, and that makes me 94 years old now.
How old were you when you joined up?
I'll have to think about that. 18.
What service did you join and why?
Well, I went to join the Navy, but you couldn't join which one you wanted. They would select you and interview you and decide which service you were best for. And you would have to go where they sent you. And they sent me to the Navy. So they must have thought I was suitable for the Navy, so I went in the Navy. I went to a place called Chatham, which is a naval headquarters, and then I went on an airfield. Well, I went on a course up here somewhere, learning about aircraft and guns. I remember the name of the guns, Browning 303s. That was the size of the bullets, .303. Learning about the machine guns and the bombs and all that. And my job on the ship was looking after the magazines and the bombs. And we had lifts to bring the bombs up from the magazines, two-tiered lifts, and you take 400 or 500 pound bombs at a time, which is a lot of weight. And they used to bring them up either to the flight deck or to the hangar. They bring them up and then they would load them onto the aircraft. And the aircraft, of course, would be ready to take off then with the bombs, wherever we were going to bomb, and we were then in Ceylon, and we were bombing Sumatra, which was occupied by the Japanese. I remember the names, Sabang, Padang, Penang and Palembang. That's the name of the places. We went there on holiday once, didn't we? We went there on holiday once, and I said we were bombing the hell out of this place during the war, which we were, yeah. So Trincomalee is, it's a big harbour at the north end of Ceylon, like Scapa Flow is at Scotland, similar. And all the ships operated from there. Yeah. Any more?
Did you sign up with friends or on your own?
Did I sign up on my own? I was working on aircraft wings. I'm trying to think of the name of the aircraft now. I was working on the wings of the aircraft, and I decided to join up. So I went and signed up and joined up.
You were in Belfast, weren't you?
In Belfast, and I was then sent to Portsmouth, and then I went on a course up here somewhere on different things, naval things, You had to learn an awful lot of things, and they taught you all these things. And then you would be assigned, I was assigned to an airfield, Newbury. I was on this airfield many times when the Germans used to be dropping bombs on us, I mean, I was supplying ammunition, and we had a workshop, and we used to have a machine for belting the magazine, the bullets, putting them on a belt. We had a machine, and we put all the bullets in a belt, and then the belt would go on the aircraft and into the guns. So it used to be like a belt going through, as they were firing, the belt would be going through the gun, You can realise that, can't you? 600 rounds a minute originally, and then they got to a gun called the Browning, an American gun, 1,200 rounds a minute. Can you imagine that? 1,200 rounds a minute out of a gun on an aeroplane. So you wouldn't like to be in the way of that, would you? Yeah, 1,200 rounds a minute. So that's a good thing. Any more?
What did your family think about it?
Well, I think they must have been very distraught and worried. That's all I can say to that. I wouldn't know. But during the war, we were all worried because you would go to war and you'd be worrying about the bombs dropping on your relatives at home. You remember the Germans were dropping bombs on us and you were going to war at the same time. So it was a horrible situation, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you are. Some more.
How did you join up?
How did I join up? I went to the post office. You didn't have telephones in those days, you know. Nobody had telephones. Anybody that wanted to use a phone would have to go to the post office or go to a special box, which there weren't many boxes then. So what was the question?
How did you join up?
Oh, how did I join up? And yeah, I went, I'm trying to think now. How did I join up? I went to the post office and they gave me a time to report to the post office on a day. And when I reported on that day, there was an army lorry there waiting for me with quite a lot of us on, and it took us all to Chatham, where we learned a lot about guns and things like that. We had to go on courses to different places to learn what we were doing. I was learning about Browning 303s, 1,200 rounds a minute they used to fire, yeah, and how to service them and supply them and fit them on the aircraft, you know. And the aircraft carrier I went on was called the Indomitable, and we had different squadrons used to come on, and originally we had swordfish and barracudas, which were British planes, and I'm sorry to tell you, but they were no good. They weren't very good, and we replaced them with squadrons manned by British men, you know, squadrons of Hellcats and Avengers, which were very good. And we were operating from Trincomalee, and we were going out and we were raiding all Sumatra, Penang and Palembang. And then of course they would quite often send suicide bombers. You know what a suicide bomber is?
Yeah, I do.
It's a man flying a plane with a bomb and flying into your ship. So we got hit for many of those. The good thing about British workmanship is our aircraft and our airplanes, our ships, the decks were that thick. You know, big thick decks on our ships. And many of these suicide bombers used to come down and hit us, and they used to bounce off, which saved my life many a time. The Americans only had thin decks. When they hit them, they used to sink them. So we were very lucky to have good British workmanship. It saved my life many times, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's some more there.
Did people want to join up?
Yeah, well, if you were 16 or 17 and your country was at war, you would feel you wanted to do your bit, wouldn't you? You feel, I want to help, and you had that inside you, and you would go to the post office and they would arrange a time for somebody to come and interview quite a gang of you, and they would interview you and decide if you were fit to go. And if they chose you,
Can I get you drink
would-
or anything, Kevin? No, thanks you.
if they chose you,
I just can't get
they would
his
give you a time and a date to be at a certain place. They would pick you up and then, of course, take you to the barracks where you would learn your training and learn all about guns and machines and all that kind of thing. I served on airfields originally, you know. HMS Heron down south, Newbury down that way down in the south. But we had dozens and dozens of
Ready for tomorrow.
dozens and dozens of airfields along the, dozens and dozens of airfields all over the country. And we were all asked, I'm going to show you something here now. Yeah. Any more?
And what happened if you didn't want to?
Hey?
What happened if you didn't want to join up?
If you didn't want to join up? Well, if you didn't want to join up, you'd be working on something what you call reserved occupation. If you were working in a factory where they were making, uniforms for the army, or particularly different clothing that was needed by the armed forces, you would be called a reserved occupation. And if you were specialised at what you were doing, they wouldn't call you up. They used to call that calling you up. You know, if you're indoctrinated into the forces without any choice, that was being called up. So that they used to call it calling up.
Was you proud to join up?
Very proud. Very proud to be doing my bit, and you would as well, wouldn't you, for your country? Yeah, of course, I was very proud, yeah.
Was you scared?
Eh?
Was you scared?
Well, I tell a lie if I ever said I was. At times I was scared, but I was only young, and I didn't feel fear, and I didn't look for trouble, you know, and I didn't worry, you know, yeah. There were times during raids when the Japanese were suicide bombings that I was scared, but, you know, I survived it all anyway. I was lucky, really.
In the Navy, what did you do?
I was what they call an armourer. You know what an armourer is? Somebody who looks after the arms, which is the bombs and the guns. And we had a headquarters armoury, and my job was looking after all the bombs in the magazines. We had lifts with 2 compartments, and we used to load the lifts up and supply the aircraft. You know, we had squadrons of aircraft, with 2 squadrons of aircraft, and we used to bring the bombs up. I think our biggest bomb was 500 pounds. We had 250 pound and 500 pound bombs, which is not small, are they, really? And so we used to bring those up and unload them and load them onto the aircraft before they would take off and go raid. We were in Ceylon in the Indian Ocean then, and all that area was occupied by the Japanese then. So we were bombing areas called Palembang, Penang, and Padang. On Sumatra, we were bombing all of those there.
What was your first day like on a big ship?
It was hard to imagine, but it was something you really wanted. You thought you were special if you were picked to go to sea on a ship. And I was at Newbury, and we were all what you call akak. Did you know what akak was?
No.
Akak was guns. Akak for fighting, shooting at the German planes when they came over. It was called akak. So there's a lot of akak guns, and these guns were used to shoot at the German planes which used to come over to bomb us, you know. Akak.
What type of ship was it?
The Indomitable was a large aircraft carrier. It was, I'm saying a large one, it was one of the largest then, 24,000 ton of air displacement. It was quite big. And we had 2 squadrons of aircraft, 26 aircraft on board, which is quite a lot. Bombers and fighters. Originally we had English planes called barracudas and swordfish. The swordfish had twin wings, you know, biplane. And sorry to say it, but they weren't any good. The Americans had more experience of us, and they built special planes. And they were called Hellcats and Avengers. The Avenger was the bomber, and the Hellcat was the fighter. And we had a couple of squadrons of each of those on the Indomitable. And that was when we were at Trincomalee. The Japanese were all over the area, Sumatra not there, but we were bombing Sumatra, all the different things there.
How many sailors were on it?
Many were on the Indomitable. I think it was 1,800 altogether. Can you imagine that? Surprised at that, 1,800 in the Indomitable. Yeah.
Similar to a cruise ship.
What was it called?
The Indomitable. HMS Majesty's Ship Indomitable.
Well, he didn't have a nice cabin yet.
Yeah, Indomitable. Mm-hmm. Very good name, not Indomitable, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Did you have a bedroom?
Oh no, I had a hammock. Thing called a hammock. We had bars across the forecastle and different parts of the ship. And these bars had a little down in where you tie your hammock on. And the idea of the little loop was so your hammock wouldn't slide across it. So we mostly had hammocks then. And you'd sling your hammock at night, and you used to have a 7 rope. You had to make sure you wrapped your hammock correctly, because it would be examined by the officer of the day the following day. And if you hadn't tied your hammock up properly, you could be put on a charge. So you had to be very good with everything you did in the Navy in those days. Yeah.
What was the food like?
Oh, when you got it, it wasn't very good, because we were out there and there was a war going on here, and with the war going on here, with the Germans and that, food was rationed. I don't know if you know that. Food was rationed. Everybody in the country was rationed with food, and you used to have a ticket, and it had so much a week food that you were allowed to pick up. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So the food was rationed. So the food wasn't good. No, definitely not good.
Didn't get much, did you?
Eh?
You didn't get much of it.
No, you didn't get enough. No. Well, you see, you could understand, with the war being going on at home, and me and Ceylon, the war at home here, they weren't able to supply food to us, you know, like we would need really. But we had to go short and manage with what we could, you know. Yeah.
Jack, you've
Did
not told
you
him
have
about
time?
your current buns.
Pardon?
You've not told him about your current buns.
Not told them about what?
Your current buns.
Current bun.
Your protein.
Eh?
Your protein.
Oh, I've forgotten that one. What's that?
You
Eh?
don't remember your current buns.
Current bun.
You told me often enough.
I've forgotten that now.
The cockroaches.
Eh?
The cockroaches.
Oh,
I'm going to turn this off. I don't
Oh,
know
I used to
anybody
tell
else
her.
on.
Yeah, it was very hot out there, and your flour and everything got infested with cockroaches and things like that. So when you got your bread, before you buttered it, you had to look at it, and you had to pull the cockroaches out, because the ship was infested with cockroaches. You used to open your door of your locker, and you could hear the cockroaches running away. Millions and millions of cockroaches. Ship infested with cockroaches. We were living like that during the war. Yeah. A lot of people don't realise that. Yeah. Yeah, little brown cockroaches there are. Could you just bring me a drop of water up, please?
Oh well, yeah.
Yeah. Find it interesting?
Did you have time off?
No, you didn't. You were, even when you were off duty, you're allowed to get called upon by the captain at any time. So you never knew during the war when your time was your own. You know, you never knew really. You never knew when the time was your own. No. Yeah. Yes, we used to hang our hammocks up at night, and it was called lash up and stow. We used to announce it, lash up and stow, so you had to wrap your hammock up and have it tied up properly. I think it was 7 loops on your hammock, and it had to be done correctly. She'd bring me a drink, I think. And the officer of the day would examine your hammocks every day to make sure they were right, you know. If you hadn't wrapped your hammock up right, you could be put on a charge, you know. Yeah. There's the Indomitable over there in the Victorious, that wall on the wall there, you know.
Sure you can't get your drink or anything.
Thanks, no. Just have a wee drink. Anything else you'd like to know?
Who was fighting? Who was you fighting and were?
Where was I fighting? Well, we were fighting the Japanese. The Japanese